So I woke up this morning, looked out the window, saw the trees, branches are breaking off the trees and falling to the ground. We have a giant storm coming through, a high wind advisory. Of course, that makes me think how lucky I am that I don't have to paint at all today. And I'll plan alternative things, that's for sure. So in sequencing up the day, I'm just going to resequence, juggle some jobs around, because there is no way we're going to be doing anything outside today. That wind is really blowing. So two things I decided would be productive today. One of them is this radiator grill. This grill that's in front of the radiator and protects the radiator. I wanted to paint it. I have some high temperature silver paint, but you know what? I'm going to have to paint it inside. Or not paint it today and just bring it inside. The wind, it's just crazy. I never seen anything like this today. I really can't do much today, but I did want to wire brush down the exhaust system, paint the exhaust system, and again, this is going to be a short day, not a long day, so that would be a good job if I could get that done. And I'm looking around, of course, trying to figure out what's going to be a productive way to use the time available today. And there's always some things that when you have a bike all stripped down and taken apart like this, see, without the front wheel and fender in place, doing a lot of this stuff is a piece of cake, like the exhaust. When you have to take all the fairings off and everything to do it, you tend to put it off. So in making up the plan for the day, I thought another thing I could do, I could the paint on the wheel that's downstairs. The front wheel is probably dry enough I can buff it out today. That's on my little shopping list of things to do. And we've painted and buffed and stripped and repainted a lot of wheels. And I always think that other than a paint job, that's the biggest custom thing you can do to any motorcycle. And I kind of like the fact that between Luciano's Cafe Racer and this bike and the FZR, we're going to have 3 of these ladder things floating around the universe this year. And I'll look around in the course of the day, look out on the YouTube, the 1,400 videos we have out there. See if I can put something from the A-Team out at the end of this video. That seems to be, I didn't realize it was going to be that popular, but I've got nothing but people that they like to look back at the good old days. Well, I do too. It's having that old footage that goes back many years. This goes back 4 or 5 years. It's priceless to me. And as I've said before, the wheels, custom wheels on a bike, to me, it's a lot of work to do a wheel. Anybody that's done one knows. But boy, in the end, it adds that nice final touch. And like most of the stuff we do, and it's always good to remind yourself, most of the stuff we do in a restoration is very, very little money, a lot of work and energy, and if you do it yourself, there's a lot of pride involved. In my case, I take a lot of pride in the work I do, and I'm sure you do too. Time for coffee. Now the wind is blowing so bad out there, I had to take the bird feeder and put it in the backyard, put it in the back of the house. But it is really blowing out there. Wow. It's amazing. Look at the stuff blowing around. This is really sad. We're having a windstorm out there. And all the birds, we had to take our bird feeder down. So they're all sitting in the tree, and I feel so sorry for them. I threw some seeds out in the driveway. Look at the birds. The birds are blowing away this morning. My baby eagles. They're sitting on a windowsill. Look at these poor guys. They come where the feeder used to be, and there's no feeder. Look at this.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, is that sad, Karen? Look at this.
Terrible. We
can't put the feeder. The wind is really blowing out there. It's like a storm. Poor birds. Oh, there they come. Wendy, put some food out already. Look at us sitting on a ledge. Look at this. Feed me, Seymour. Feed me. Look at this guy. There's more. Put that feeder back, Wendy. Stop being a baby. Look at this. If I open a window sometimes to put the seeds in, they fly. They almost come into the kitchen. I know Scott knows what time it is. Maybe you know what time it is too. And we got to get cooking, literally. Got to get cooking. So in trying to plan out every day, of course, the weather plays into it, along with a million other things. By the way, these forks look great this morning. I love coming down to the shop and seeing the previous day's work. The paint, of course, is drying. Thank you, Luciano, for the shocks. We're due to have Glenn's Ninja in here in a few days, so I'm trying to clean up some of the room we have available. And just so it's not too crowded, we're going to have, hopefully, in a few days, we're scheduled to have a modern A-Team day. Now, we used to have these in the past, and of course, time takes its toll on all of us. But we're going to try to have one this upcoming weekend. We'll see how it plays out. Right now, what I did, I looked around at the possible things. The wheel is definitely ready to buff out. I'm going to hold off on doing the radiator grill with that wind out there, and I don't want to paint in the cellar if I don't have to. And I was going to do the shocks, but it's just a little bit too cold out there for that today. I thought maybe that'll be a good fitment for our A-Team day. We could do the shocks. Luciano will be here. So the point I'm trying to make is every day I have to plan out what I want to do because the time is limited, of course. And actually right now my energy is limited. And the reason it's limited, there's a big reason. Because I haven't had enough coffee yet. So the workbench is clear. And I'm ready for coffee. And then I'm going to pull that wheel over here and start working on it. Now I know a lot of people would say, wow, wheel is nice and shiny, and I've even skipped buffing them when they've looked really good. This one looks exceptional. But there's always something. I'm just taking all the dust and grit off. That it sits in the shop here while we're grinding away on forks, and everything's dusty, of course. So the first thing I want to do is get the dust off it as much as I can. I don't want to grind the dust in with anything I'm going to use on it. I want to leave this masking tape on until we actually put the discs on, but I want to take the masking tape along the edge off because I'm going to work on this edge. So, and this wheel balancer, Pokey gave me this wheel balancer, and by the way, thank you, Pokey. But we have used this wheel balancer to paint more wheels. I'm blown away by it. When I've tried to paint wheels in the past, putting a broomstick through, and the day I got the balancer, just makes it so much easier. And the thing is, it's about 20 or 25 bucks in Harbor. Where else does anybody buy anything? Harbor Freight. I'm going to pull this off carefully because I don't want to leave any little traces of tape or anything that's going to prevent that tire from seating the way I want it to. I want to take the plug that we used for the valve. I want to get around where the valve will be buffed. It'll be a lot easier than once the valve is in place. See, the sequencing of a lot of these things are very easy to do when nothing's in the way, like painting that radiator grill. When the front wheel isn't in the way, it's a piece of cake. When you got to paint that with the wheel and tire, and you forget about it. Now, in the system we've developed over the past few years, we've used the 4C products. This is the latest one, and I think it may even be by far the best one. I don't know. Based on how this job is coming out, I'd say it's good stuff. And this is usually not available in a place like AutoZone. You have to buy this in a place, and I guess you could buy it online even from Amazon. I never tried because I deal with a local paint supplier who carries all 4C products, and they all seem to be, they're German. The only problem is if you go to use any of this, you better know how to speak German. No interpretation into English. No wonder they lost the war. They couldn't figure that out. You got to put it in English. Anyway, I want to put that on. It's 8065, and it is a good product. So there are a couple of rules that make sense. And if you have any giant flaws or giant orange peel, of course you'd want to wet sand with 2500. Most of this wheel, there's a couple of spots that I guess we could do that on, but the majority of it, and I want to pick a simple spot here, this is the part of the rim that you're going to see most. This is hidden by the disc, but we'll do it anyway. But if I have some rough stuff, or if you sprayed and got a lot of orange peel, you'd want to sand with 2500. In this case, I wanted to show, since we always are using the machines first, I'm going to try to do this. And because And this is the whole thing. You could try to do this using mag wheel polish, Meguiar's compound. It doesn't matter. It's the compound, and I'm going to be doing a lot of this by hand, pretty much the way you would do a model airplane. Traditionally, you don't use a lot of power tools on a model plane. You do it all by hand. Well, that's really nice, and I could make a couple of suggestions right off the bat. When you do this kind of close work, don't wear a watch. Don't wear jewelry. If you have one of those rings that says, I won the Super Bowl, you know, don't wear it. Save it for when you go out to dinner with your wife. Now, I want to do one little spot here by hand. And again, I'm used to buffing paint by hand without a machine from, 50 years of building model planes. And in the old days, buffing out lacquer was a whole different thing than buffing out this modern car paint. And this compound makes it, I don't know what the right word is. Now, the way you can tell if you're making some progress, I do it with a rubber glove on by feel. I can feel this is rougher, this is smoother. Maybe it doesn't shine a whole lot more, but it shines a little bit more for sure. So if I know this compound now is going to cut that paint the way I want. Now it's a question of, and constantly turning the microfiber over. And by the way, these microfibers from that Dale sent years ago, when I did his RZ, these have been proven to have been the best microfibers ever. So I will just get as much of this done by hand. I don't find this to be a real, like some people say, oh, nobody's going to see that. Well, yeah, that may be true, but I see it. And I like having, as long, it's that same rule we always use. While something is all taken apart, while something is like that radiator grill, like that exhaust system, while the whole front end's off the bike, it's a sin not to do this. It's like when you change a tire, not to clean up in by the chain, where the chain is, and by the sprockets, but a lot of people do it that way. So I can see, I'm looking at this myself, that to be honest, this is buffing out pretty nice. But I'm going to look for, it's actually really nice. I can see the difference and I can feel the difference. But the trick now, that's not the trick. I want to find a spot that this part has a little orange peel. In fact, I can feel the orange peel. This part, I'll sand. This is our good old friend, Mirka 2500 sandpaper. And this is a job when this puts the final touch on it, but there's spots you need the sandpaper for, and there's spots that this paint has laid out so well, you can just buff it by hand, but it's a combination of, you have to figure out the spots that need this, spots that can be done by hand, and spots we'll try to do with a machine. A wheel is a difficult thing to do this to, but in the end, it really shows. Now, it's up around that tire valve that I got some overspray. And you can get overspray off. You don't really even have to sand this flat. Just to the point that you've got all the overspray off, and the rest you can just, that compound cuts beautifully, by the way. That compound probably would work pretty good on a model plane, on a Brodak dope finish even, which I don't have one here to do a test on, but that would certainly be something I would think is going to work great. That German stuff really is good stuff. If only they would put the label on the American. It probably says do not use on motorcycle wheels, or don't drink coffee while you work. Okay, so you can see that got some of the flatness, some of the orange peel off, and now we can buff that. Now it's the same thing. There's no difference. I want to, again, this is just time consuming. This really is actually a lot of enjoyment for me, because I know at the end of a day, when I buff out anything, at the end of the day, it's like instant reward. I look at this and I look at the parts, even if I don't finish a part in one day, the parts that are buffed out, I wanted to show how quickly this would come up by hand. You just saw it was block sanded relatively flat. Now what makes this possible too is we've got a really good amount of clear on this. We didn't shortchange the clear at all. And again, you got to break down the part, a complex part like this, break it down into pieces. Luckily with the rim in 3, we can do 1/3 segments. If you had a snowflake rim right now, a lot more complex. Like the BMW, the ones that are on BMWs or GS Suzukis with all the spokes, a lot more difficult. Now you saw, no camera cuts here, that's always the thing. You saw how much effort went into this. I want to just pull this up. Now I want to do this, I got to move the camera, so just give me 1 second. See, I like to do it without a camera cut. Now you can see this part here is, for all purposes, there's no orange peel on that at all. Nothing. That's absolutely the finish that we're looking for on the whole part. So now it's a question of doing that. I've got 5 more pieces to do. Then picking up pieces here, same thing between the spokes. And then when I get the whole rim done, I'll come back down and do one side here, one side there. I broke this down myself into probably 20 or 30 individual pieces that each get done separately. And when we're done, that should be a really, really nice wheel. Now each time you block sand down an area, and it's best, just like buffing anything else out, don't try to, I would highly recommend, don't sand out the whole wheel. Sand one little part, buff one little part. What happens, it just gets, it's I don't know. This is a way you see instant results. 2 minutes into the job, you see something that looks real nice, and then you're look at a reflection in this. You really see a reward almost instantly, so it makes me at least prone to drink more coffee more than anything else. What I'm suggesting is you should never make too big of a piece to buff. And it's just my personal thing. And by the way, this compound, over the course of using it, it has really been excellent when I've had to hand buff around corners and edges, and even parts of Luciano's job I had to do by hand. There's no way a buffing wheel goes in there, even if you wanted to do it with a buffing wheel. But I did want to show the way I've done a wheel in the past, the way I've done this. This wheel is going to get done this way. It'll probably take the whole session today. I don't know why I'm pretending I'm going to get this done in an hour or something. It's not. But the bottom line is I enjoy doing this. And if people don't enjoy it, I don't know. You know, maybe just like some people enjoy rebuilding engines. I know Luciano's a lot more comfortable if he's got an engine apart and a crankshaft out, and that I shy away from that kind of work. And I kind of like this stuff. And when we've used the A-Team in the past, I've noticed on our A-Team, from Vince to Luciano to Bob, everybody has some skill that they bring to the table. And if you can get everybody together to have a good time, it just couldn't be any better than that. And that shine is coming right up. Now you saw it in real time. I did the other one in real time. That's priceless when you see the result. You see it right away too. You don't have to wait an hour to see it. You know, one thing for sure, when I do the back wheel, there's a giant part between the sprocket and the center of the wheel that's totally visible. See, this one, you don't, because the disc covers a lot of it, but I still want it perfect, that's for sure. Or as nice as I can make it. But the back wheel, I'll have to spend, doing this phase of it, buffing it out, I will spend extra time, because the back wheel is way more visible. Oh, there's Luciano. Call it on time. Now in sanding this outer spoke area, one of the things that's critical, there's a little high spot here, a little ridge. I don't want to take the paint off of that and see that break through, so I'm being very careful to keep the sandpaper down right only on that area. As I go around the rim, I don't want to go up onto this side piece. I'll just hit that with compound. There's really no overspray there anyway, but this will be the flat spot that you see when you stand back from the motorcycle and look at it. That'll be the part that really jumps out at you. And it's my personal thing I enjoy. I enjoy doing modifications that there isn't a lot of money being spent, but it's a lot of labor. The labor is inconsequential. And that I can do it in-house. I don't have to bring it to a dealer or bring it to somebody that I like having things in-house if I can. Now, this wheel is one of my pride and joys. So, like anything that you put your heart and soul in, if it takes an extra day, it takes 2 extra days. If it takes whatever it takes, it won't matter. This is, when it's done, I have this bike for as long as I live. And of course, that's debatable, whether that's going to be 6 months or 9 months. You never can tell. But for all the time I have it, I will be looking at this rim and I will not remember that it was a windy, crappy day. Now, it was really important to me because I know I almost never put hand buffing on these videos. Because model airplanes, you pretty much buff by hand. And if you looked at any of those model airplane videos that I have, there's about 1,000 of them out there. It's all by hand, but most people don't want to buff by hand. They want to have and it's done. Well, this is old school right here. And that is, now if I look at this side of the rim and this side, no contest. I know I've made a giant improvement. Now, I'm not sure I can capture on the video, even though this camera does have a better lens. It's only a look at the shine from that and the gloss, and see, you can see it right in this. And this is fine, but this is better. And that's going to take, now I can see myself in there. Anytime I can watch TV in my paintwork, I know it's pretty good quality. So we're going to grind out the yardage here. I'm going to finish this side, take a nice coffee break, do the other side, and then if time has available, I'll do the spokes. But even if this takes 2 days, I don't care. See, if you worry about what some time takes, if you're not doing it like they say, as if time didn't matter, you're not going to enjoy it. That's the problem. And that's why we do it in the middle of the winter, when there's a windstorm. As a kid, I remember a poem, and I don't remember the poem, but I remember it ended with the words, "The gods see everywhere." I always think of, now, you know, probably there's a reality. Not many people are going to appreciate the work that I do. That doesn't matter. If I were doing something like making a YouTube video about Hot Wheels, I'd have 1 million hits by now. But that's not the same. See, it's not the same. It's not the same to sell 1 million hamburgers as to sell 1 filet mignon or something of that level of stuff. I try not to consume myself with quantity, but with the quality of the work. And I think this wheel is right at the top of, if you show me wheels that somebody else did, even car wheels, and they have a better quality finish than this, I'll be very impressed, and I'll bow down and take my hat off to them. They are a ninja. And I am a Polish ninja. Again, it's time to look for any little flaws, any little things we can eradicate, and do that constant comparison to the unbuffed side. And I don't know with this camera, again, if you can see how much orange peel is on there. I think you can. And once you get rid of that orange peel, or minimize it, everything you do to get rid of orange peel, it just makes it that next level up. Okay, now I got to flip it over and do the whole other side. But first, it's time for another cup of coffee. This is labor-intensive stuff, coffee-intensive. Maybe it's self-evident, maybe it's not. This sandpaper wears out very quickly. 2500 sandpaper does not last as long as, and I'm not sure because I don't have any of the Endasa. I have 2000 grit, but I don't want to. I'm so happy the way this is working out. I don't want to try an experiment at this point in time. You know, there'll be times that I really do want to try something else, but right now I'd like to bring this wheel up to its final state, and in the next couple days get the tire mounted and the discs all on and start the back wheel, because the back wheel is a lot more visible than the front wheel. But everything we've learned on doing this front wheel, we're going to put into use on the back wheel. Every single thing, and especially this cleaning up the back part of the hub that you really see. And we already have a gold sprocket. We have a gold chain, so the black should really pop. Now, the trick I want to show. Now I've used that sandpaper on this edge. Now I'll turn it this way. So I'm using small pieces and always using the edge. And actually, as soon as you go to put it on, you can feel it cut. So you know you're making progress. Now, it turns out, because this paint has laid down so flat, this part of the job is a lot easier than if we had thick orange peel, if this paint was on there, like 80 grit sandpaper. So that's part of the spraying technology that when you start painting, you quickly figure out. It's like, and my late friend George Venturini told me, he was teaching me how to mix concrete, and he said, it's very easy. You'll figure it out, because you get sick of mixing it the hard way. And he was right. There's definitely one downside to looking at these old 18 memory videos that I have from 4, 5, and 6 years ago, or longer, sometime even longer. The problem is I look at the video and everybody's young. Wow. I'm the only one that didn't age. That would my wildest dream. But boy, talk about things you never know how priceless they're going to be in the future. And they always say, if your house is burning down, run in and get the picture album. Of course, that's the only thing you can't replace. Well, in my case, by having shot all these videos from, oh my God. I got the first video camera, by the way, in '87. So you think about it, that camera was as big as a car. So I've had some experience. Not all good experience either. Anyway, I'm coming up on the end of having the outer rim buffed. And I guess very soon we're going to be putting it on and getting this inside part. But by doing it all by hand, yeah, it's a throwback thing to when I was building model planes and I would buff the whole plane by hand, and just brings back a lot of memories for me. One of the side benefits is you can count it as exercise and go eat an extra slice of pizza or something. I don't know, but I know it's coming out nice. So with that piece done, the whole rim part that you're going to see is done. The next thing I wanted to do is the spokes. Now there's a couple of issues with the spokes. No matter how careful you are about spraying, it always seems like there's a bar down the edge of each spoke that has orange peel. And I don't want to go through, so I'm going to do that by hand, very gingerly, maybe just with compound and no sandpaper, just a very tiny bit. Because you do see that, that's one of the things you do see. So let me take this out of the balancer, lay it on its side, and time to do the spokes, and then we'll finish it off, put it back in the balancer, maybe, or maybe on a table, I don't know yet, and do the hub. I'm working from the outside of the wheel to the inside. So here's one of the tips. Put several towels down, because you're going to be, as you press down on this, you're going to be rubbing on the workbench, so I don't want to have it on a not so soft area. At least 2 towels. Now, once I have it in this area, and this, I can get in here with the sandpaper relatively easily, buff it relatively easily, and hopefully do the whole thing in a reasonable amount of time. But then I'm going to do the edges by hand. I decided not to put any sandpaper on the edges, because it's just very difficult. You always, because you're spraying from both sides, there's always like a little zipper of orange peel along the front of the wheel, no matter how the spokes are segmented out. It becomes that thing we always talk about. It's a labor of love. And I guess you got to be in love. That's the easy part is wanting it. The hard part is doing it. Anyway, it's not really that hard. I know a lot of people look at the videos, and I've communicated with them, and they think, oh my God, this really is not difficult at all. It's labor intensive. When you understand, it's just like digging a hole. But of course, a lot of people don't want to dig a hole. And I can't reasonably be mad at them. It's just that I have a passion for this, and I've had a passion for it my whole life, really. That I like to have things that look new and shiny. See, now a big part of it is understanding a person's mentality. When I was young and really, really poor, I wanted nice shiny things. I never had them. So the only way I had them is if I figured out how to, pretty much how to do it myself. And then I thought, well, now that it's taken me all these years to figure out how to do this, and I did it in the venue of model planes, among other things. Now that I figured, and some custom motorcycles from the 70s. So, what do you do with it? Do you just keep it to yourself, or is it really worth sharing? So, I hope you enjoy it. The way the day is playing out, the windstorm, my garbage can was like half a block away. Karen yelled down at me before. But anyway, I wanted to show this. Just show one in real time here. There you go, that's ready for polishing. And everybody knows my penchant for doing at least some of the things, because the real reason for watching a video is you want to learn how to do this stuff. There it is, flat sanded. And you really, you could buff a whole car by hand. I mean, that's not a secret. But I wanted to show at least some of this, because there are people that, and there's delicate things you want to buff out. And this material that we use is wonderful. It is. Now, I've buffed things by hand. I've buffed them with machines, with the Flitz ball, with the. I've done my the hood of the car as a test, but it really is good material. And when you find good material, the trick is to pass it on. The Meguiar's is good. I have used both with some good success. I like this just a little bit better. Not sure why. Maybe because they're not paying me. If they send me a free bottle of this stuff, maybe I'll maybe I'll turn into a prostitute or something. Maybe I already am a prostitute. I don't know. Anyway, if you look at how that's coming out, it's just, you just have to accept that it's a labor of love. I got to replace the microfiber. It's getting full of compound from work. Can't have these big disgusting things. Anyway, that did come out. I think you can see that. And it does, if you do a side by side, it's definitely got a nicer, smoother finish than the one we didn't buff. So obviously the next stop, do the other two sides, flip it, and when all of these are done, it'll be ready to put. And again, that might be another half an hour. Who knows? It could be 2 cups of coffee. All the spokes are basically done here, and I have one more little thing before I put it back on the balancer and do the hub. I'd like to do the hub on the balancer. And that is, I want to sand the edge of this. I want to basically, I want to make the stripe in the clear. I don't want to feel the gap. This is just to get rid of that gap. Get this. This will be a small thing. Then the last thing is going to be the hub. And all the little details that go into a job like this, in the end, believe me, I'll see them. The gods see everywhere. It's supposed to be something like each unseen and hidden part, for the gods see everywhere. Probably true. Anyway, we're putting a real effort into getting this wheel nice. And the back wheel, same thing. Anyway, this is, there's just no other word for what it is, a labor of love. So this is a totally true story I thought I'd share. Maybe you can relate to this story yourself in your own way. Maybe you're the same, but it's something to think about. Some of our friends, and basically Karen's friends from her art class and stuff, we decided the other night we were going to go to dinner with them. And we went to a beautiful restaurant, had a great meal, and in the course of course, they're artists, of course, in the course of, chit-chatting and stuff, we tried to share a couple of things that we like and don't like, and the woman said, well, did you see this sitcom with so-and-so and so? And both of us said, no. And the guy says, did you see this show, Joey and the Two Penises or something? No, we didn't see that either. And did you see this sitcom? Oh, and did you see this show? And then I had to admit, I had to say, we don't watch any of that stuff. And they said, well, what do you do with your time? What do you do? And so, of course, Karen does artwork and her crafts, and I do this. And
Basically, they did nothing. They sit in front of the television all night. So, I don't know. I just thought I'd share that because I'm sure people that get involved in a restoration and see how many hours it takes over your life at some point in time. And sometimes your neighbors or your friends don't understand. They don't understand why you're even doing it. But I understand. So have no fear. Anyway, that is a true story too. We love the people, and they're wonderful people and good friends for many, many, many years. But they enjoy television, I guess, and they don't understand about restorations. But I know you do. Now, believe it or not, the hub is one of the parts we're going to see on this, so I want to really get this right. I really don't want to have you really can look down and see the middle of the hub in between the discs. And I remember doing the Kawasaki wheels, I thought, oh, you'll never see that. I didn't spend a lot of time inside. You see it. And the R1 wheels, if you go back and look at those videos of painting the R1 wheels, boy, that was, talk about this labor of love. It just brings back a lot of memories. How much time? Hey, you miss a lot of TV shows, you know. I miss all these sitcoms and all these, you know, I don't even know what they are. And to be honest, I don't have any love of television. Television just doesn't do much for me, except YouTube. If I can learn something, then it's worthwhile. But if I'm just going to watch other people pretend they're somebody they're not, well, I don't know. I'm not sure what the value really would be in that. Anyway, this will buff out, I'm sure. So the thing I wanted to people understand is a lot of this job gets done on the wheel balancer. A lot of it gets done basically on a bunch of towels. And basically, not even basically, it is a labor of love. There is just, as much as I try to find a word for like building a Sistine Chapel or, I'm not sure, putting a bathroom at the Vatican, it's a labor of love. So looking at how that side buffed out, wow, that's going to be really nice. Now, we only have the other side of that to do, and we'll put a good coat of, so I guess McGuire's wax or Flitz or something on it to protect it. Yeah, we're pretty happy with that. I'm real happy with that. Think of all the TV shows I missed. Well, we never got to, as I wanted to paint that grill. That didn't happen today, but we did get to focus in on this wheel, and I think this wheel really came out nice. Plus, we got a lot of, I think there's a lot of good tips for our model airplane friends that still may be interested in knowing how to buff by hand. All I can say is if you are, this is a good product to try. And I don't have anything lacquer here to try it on, but it sure works on automotive paint. But anyway, at the end of this video, we have an A-team job. We did several jobs for Vince. One of them was painting one of his classic BMWs. I looked for that footage the other night. I found it. It brought back a lot of good memories of, we did some wheels for Vince. I know Glenn was the one painted him. In fact, Glenn was here. And so we do have so many good A-team memories. It's unbelievable. But boy, if you could only see that in real life, wow. It really came out nice. So at the end of a day like today, I really feel a sense of accomplishment, and that is the final step that puts this where I want it to be. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and here's a few outtakes of working on Vince's. We had so much fun years ago, but we were younger. That's the part I can't get back. I can't get that fountain of youth, but I do have the fountain of nicely finished wheels. So again, hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. Now we're looking to see how Vince's paint has dried up. It's got its first initial coats of clear on it. This is going to need to be sanded out, and the final coat, and we hope tomorrow it'll be well, we're just doing this while the baby's napping, to be honest. But you know, even in a little time I had today, I had a little time. The baby was napping, and this is what allows me to get, well, more done than if I didn't do it this way. What? Are you awake?
I found the Lamborghini.
You found the Lamborghini. How about finding me a real one? All right, look at that. Did you have a nice nap?
Yeah, I found this one that was coming.
Let me see that Lamborghini. It looks like it matches my Kawasaki. Wow.
He's a Hot Wheels car.
These Hot Wheels?
Yeah.
What about me? Am I a hot Grandpa Windy? Look at those feet. Check these feet out. Look at this. Show me how many cars you have. Show me how many cars you have. Take those cars out. Come on, you just woke up. He's not really awake yet. That's your marble run I'm making you. And it's not a light sword, it's a marble run. So anyway, you can see, get a little taste for what goes on in my life. Now we got some of this done yesterday, but today, these are the bigger parts. And I'm kind of excited about the fact we have a really nice paintable day out there. Now, of course, because we painted this outside and we know we're going to buff it, it always has these little spots in it from the little, the paint is actually fly paper and the wind is blowing and whatever. But a lot of this now, because this is a lot of compound curves, I'm going to try to do most of this by hand. If there's any flat spot, I want to use soft blocks or hard blocks. And there were a couple of fisheye spots we had on here that I'm not sure I'm going to have to do a touch-up on until I actually get this last coat of clear. And again, just to be able to have a wonderful day like today to paint. Wow, it's actually supposed to snow later in the week. But another good thing, Ray and his wife Marilyn are up here from Florida. We're gonna go to dinner tonight. I'll get to hear about all his racetrack adventures. And Ray is, of course, my lifelong friend for back into the 70s, I guess. And he's got that cool KTM 390. Well, he's up here from Florida. I bet he's liking this weather better than Florida. Anyway, let me just get one little area this time. And my goal is that Vince can pick this up over the weekend, of course. But you know, we're never going to rush it. If it takes 2 weeks, it takes 2 weeks. And we're trying to prioritize so that, because spring is on the way here, some of these people, they're not going to register and ride the bike right away, and some are. And Vince, I'm sure, wants to have this bike back. Now, let me just show this. This is what we're trying to do. With this coat of clear, before we put the final coat on, we want it to all be flat as possible before we put the next coat on. Now, thanks to the fact we have an unbelievably spectacular day, I think this last coat of clear is going to go on here just beyond good. That is really going to be nice. Everything block sanded out. There's really no spots on there that are going to need any more touch-ups, and we're ready to spray clear. Now finally, after all this, I figured out how to pump the front in a realistic way. I know, Vince, that really came out nice. Wow. I'm really happy with that. That is really nice. Vince, I hope you like it.